Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Today I'm going to do an update on the monsters. Had a look in the records. We haven't done a full update on the Cymbidiums since, well, it's about 6 weeks ago. 4th of July, in fact. Date rings a bell. Yeah, it was a good film. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yes, so we're going to do a full update. I'll do the normal thing as they come over to be watered, bearing in mind with the potential near disaster we had a while back with one of them, where the leaves all went yellow and fell off, and we found out most of the roots had rotted because it was too wet. Any that I pick up that are ridiculously heavy will get missed. They won't get watered because, technically speaking, the plant doesn't weigh anywhere near as much as the pot would if it was wet. So, if you see what I mean, so even though it might be a big plant, if the pot's dry, it's not going to weigh a lot. Anyway, we're going to start with this. I had to smile the other day because Carol Sykes posted on Facebook, because she had a Cymbidium coming out. Well, who needs all these cool autumn nights then? And, well, what do you think? Okay, there are some that are late summer bloomers, naturally. Well, no, they wouldn't need the cooler nights. They've got genetics that are going to bloom anyway, I would suggest. And this is one of them. Now, process of elimination with this one, because last time when we realised we had some spikes, I didn't know which one it was. Well, I do now, because the other hybrids with no name have the colour on their tag. So the one without any colour on the tag is the bronzy coloured one. So, so that's what we've got. So basically just going round, hang on, am I going to be able to turn this round without knocking all the buds off? Spikes, we have one here pushing up through. We've got one that's decided to be a bit pendulous. I might put a stake on that actually, because otherwise it will get in the way. So that's two. And coming around here, there's one in the middle of the plant there, so that's three. And then we've got 4, 5, there's 6 spikes, all with buds. So they're all at the bud stage. This one is the most advanced. These buds are swelling. I would suggest within a week or two they will be open. Hotly followed by that one up the back there, and then probably the cascading one, and then the others will follow on behind. So it's going to be in bloom a long time, and I suspect it will still be in bloom. Oh, hang on, our show's moved, hasn't it? It's the end of October, so what are we now? Nearly at the end of August. That would have to be 2 months, wouldn't it? Some of it, I'm sure, will still be in bloom, but the first couple of spikes may have gone over by the end of October. We shall see. Anyway, on top of that, this is a progress update. So on top of the spikes, we've got a new growth here that's not mature. So I'm just worried about knocking these buds as I spin the plant round. So we've got a new growth there that's not mature. Oh, hang on. We've got another 2 spikes here. Immature, but yes, they are spikes. So I missed them. Obviously they're very small, but that's going to perpetuate the blooming, obviously. So at the moment we've got 1 immature growth. Now coming on round now, we've got another one here. So we've got a couple of immature growths, and blow me, there's another spike and another one. So I'm confident now that this will be in bloom in October. I do have a problem though. To take this to the show, every single one of these scale will have to be taken off. Now they're just rubbing off easily, so I'm pretty sure the spray has killed them, or the majority of them, but I'll certainly give it another spray. The thing is, it's a systemic, it does get into the plant, but it's a while back that this was sprayed now, and many of the scale have disappeared, so they've obviously fallen off on their own. but not all of them, and I worry that some of the ones that haven't fallen off are not actually dead. I mean, there are some leaves that are really bad here. They do just rub off very easily, but nonetheless I couldn't possibly take that into a show with, you know, infestations like that. So we will have to get the spray out again. I'll have to take special care to get down in some of the leaf joints. So there we go, that's that one, the bronzy coloured hybrid. Lots of spikes. I've lost count because of the smaller ones pushing on or starting. And it should be, we should have open blooms on this spike in the not too distant future. I'd say 2 weeks max, maybe earlier than that, we shall see. Well pleased. Well pleased. And that's without any change in feed, so we haven't done a bloom feed. It's without getting any cool nights, and it's done that effectively all on its own with just normal feed in the grow room, not outside. So makes you think. Right, this one is Pumilow. This is a cascade type. The previous one I picked up was a little bit weighty, but it's a very big plant and a very big pot, so it's had water. This one, however, was light as a feather when I picked it up, so this is dry. Now on this one we have, let's start at the label here, got a new growth here progressing, another one here, another one here, that's 3. Got another one here, 4. There's another 2 at least in the middle of the plant, 6. This one's 7, 8. It's 9. It's probably around 10 new growths on this plant. It wasn't a big plant when I got it, even though it had quite a lot of spikes on it. It was in Burnham's hanging up in the roof, and it just took my fancy because of the colour of the blooms. You'll already see that I'm doing pop-ups of the names and the blooms as we go along. I just like making work for myself, basically. Well, I got away without doing an orchid video yesterday because we had the near disaster on the flipping bonsai arena. You may or may not have seen that. Yeah, I nearly lost a tree. Wasn't far off. Anyway, so this one is progressing well. No sign of any spikes yet. The new growths are not mature. So this one is just like feed and water well, mature the growths, and then I'm sure we'll see some signs of spikes. I think it was a winter bloomer, so it'll be a while. Doing well, pleased. Right, this next one is Tiger Tail, which is, although it's in a very, very large pot because it's a big plant, but when I say big, it's a wide plant. It's not a tall plant. It's bordering on a miniature, quite honestly. Look at the size of the leaves. This won't have any spikes or anything yet, but what it has got is a lot of new growths. There's probably going to be too many to count. Again, if we start at the tag, there's one there, there's one immediately behind it, so there's 2 right next to each other there. Then in here we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, another one in the middle there, 10, and another one there, 11, 12, 13. There's at least a dozen new growths on this one. Now in theory they could all bloom, they may not. It depends on the overall strength of the plant, not just the strength of the new growths. It's the backup. It's how many good sized mature bulbs are sitting behind those new growths, you know, that can put energy and everything into the overall plant. That's what decides if it's going to bloom and how well. It's not just the size of the new growths. But anyway, these new growths are far from mature. They're all pushing on, That's probably about the most mature, and as you can see, these bulbs don't get huge on this one, but this one hasn't only just getting to the right size, let alone started to produce its bulb yet. So this one's got a way to go before we'll ever see any blooms. I suspect this will be spring before this one blooms, but it's growing well. Now when I picked this one up, it weighed a bit, but it's a very big plant, so it's going to get some water, but I'm not going to drown it. So I have to make this decision now, having had that near disaster with one of them. I don't want anything staying wet too long. The heat's gone. We've lost that daytime heat, and very soon the sun will be gone from the roof. There won't be any more heat. You know, I'll be lucky to get 24, 25 in here as a maximum for a few hours a day. Now that's going to suit these a lot better, but it's not going to suit them a lot better if they're soaking wet at the lower temperatures. So I have now got to start watching the watering on these. Anyway, doing well, this one. This is another one of the giants. This is Jamie Red. I just, no, out of the corner of my eye, that's what you call bad scale, and look, they just rub off despite that being a really badly infested leaf. That will leave marks, but they just rub off. And if adult scale rub off as easy as that without any scratching with your nail or anything, or then they're probably dead. But that was a particularly bad leaf. Right, so where were we? Jamie Red. So again, this one is progressing new growth, so there won't be any spikes. We may not find any more spikes. That one just might be the one that's progressing, the first one we looked at. But coming around here, we've got a new growth here, another one here pushing on, another one here, that's three, four. Any in the middle? Yeah, there's one in the middle, that's 5. And then coming around here, if that's a new growth, which I think it is, then that's pushing on really well and starting to mature. And then we get back round to the label. So not a huge number of new growths on this one, but if you look at the size of the bulb, you know, all of these new growths have got a lot of growing to do. We've got a leafless bulb here, which is in a very awkward place because this nice big bulb here, which is producing some roots, is sat on top of it. So yeah, not good. Well, next time it's repotted, those can come off. But, you know, that's a way off. We won't be repotting the Cymbidiums for a while because most of them have recently been done, and in the main they're in bark. So it's not going to go off anytime soon. So they should be able to stay in. There's another bad leaf. Look at this one. Ugh. But I don't think they're multiplying. I think this is just where I haven't got them off in the past, and they're just bodies. I don't think they're coming to anything. Nonetheless, the whole lot are going to have another spray, and I shall probably get on and do that soon, maybe even tomorrow. But I just need the still day. That's the problem, with no breeze, so that the spray goes where I want it and not blows all over the garden, because obviously there's other things in flower. Look at that one. So I could get my little alcohol spray, but I'll be here all day with that. I think it's better to just get the systemic in the whole plant and bump up the volume, as they say, because they've already been sprayed once, so the systemic is in the plant. But as it progresses all around the plant, I can relatively safely say that when I sprayed these plants, most of the leaves underneath and above got spray on them, but I'm sure I missed some, because the trouble is with a sprayer, you know, I mean, if you put a spray down through there, that leaf is going to stop that leaf getting any spray on it. So I'm going to have missed a few, and my theory, which I have no scientific backup for, is that the systemic, you put in a certain volume. So there is a certain volume of that active ingredient on the plant to soak in. And it does move around the plant. Well, if you covered every part of the plant, then it's in every part of the plant. However, if you've got a lot of new growth going on that didn't necessarily get sprayed, then that fixed volume of the active ingredient is going to move around the plant into those parts of the plant that haven't got any. Therefore, it's diluted. It's not at its full strength. So I think topping it up might be a good idea. Well, that's what's happening anyway, whether it's a good idea or not. Anyway, this one's coming on. You know, the new growths are there. They're progressing. When I picked this one up, it wasn't ridiculously heavy, despite being one of the largest pots and quite a large plant. So this one can get some water. Right, this one's Cali Night. This is the one that has the almost black flowers with the very, very pale edging, very attractive blooms. This wasn't a really big plant when I got it, so obviously the new growths on here are, well, they'll at least double the size of the plant, if not more. And it seems to be doing okay. It was light as a feather when I picked it up, so obviously this one is using up its water quite well. And this one hasn't got too much scale on it either. Not much at all, in fact. Right, so again, if we start at the tag, a nice big mature bulb here. New growth here, that's 2. I don't think that's a new growth, that's a small bulb on the original plant, so still 2. One here, 3. Another one here, 4. And another one here, 5. So we've got 5 new growths. So we've got the potential for 5 spikes. Now these naturally cascade, but they're the type that they grow upright for a while and then they arch over. And if you stake them at that point, just as they start to arch, so just below the bottom couple of bulbs or within the, buds, within the bottom few buds, and then let it arch, the stake will hold it upright and the arching spike won't go down below the base of the pot. So it'll be a lot easier to manage. So anyway, this one's doing okay and it's light as a feather, so it'll get an absolute soaking. Yeah, doing good. Right, another big one and quite a lot of dead leaves. Is this a worry? I won't be able to find out properly with the camera in my hand, but if those leaves are on old bulbs heading towards becoming leafless, then it's not a problem. When I picked the pot up, it was very light and it's a large plant, so it's not soaking wet, it's not losing its roots. So I don't think it's going to have trouble in the pot, which is what I'm a little worried about after that really bad one that we had. Where's the tag? Right, there's the tag for completely faded, but this is the one that has the yellow flowers, and right next to the tag, that's a spike. The buds are just starting to break through, so we have a spike on this one at the moment. New growth here. Is that a spike or a growth? Probably a growth. It's very pointed and very firm. It's unlikely to be a spike. So this one hasn't got a lot of new growth. There's another one here that's already splitting at the top, so that's definitely a growth. So this one, and there's something else coming up here, that could be another growth, could be another spike. Now this one missed a year. This didn't bloom last time round. And if it is going to bloom this time round, it's not going to do it very well. There's another one bursting out at the base of that. So maybe we have got a few spikes coming. Right, now, dead leaves. Follow them down. And they go down to that bulb there, which is an old, well, will be a leafless bulb as soon as I get the scissors to it. It's an old bulb. and these are just falling off of my hand. Saves cutting them, I suppose. Because these are Cymbidiums and the inherent possibility of spreading viruses between them, my scissors are soaking in alcohol. So in between any trimming on each plant, they will go back in the alcohol, sterilise them in between plants. That's how most viruses are spread. They are spread by us, not taking care. So reusing a pot without giving it a proper sterilisation process that had one with a virus in it, still a bit grubby, you know, bits of media still on it, that can spread that way. Certainly cutting, division obviously, if a plant's got a virus and you divide it in three, all three bits have got the virus, so I'd have thought that was pretty obvious. Still, I'm sure some people might not think of it. They think the virus is in this bit and this is a nice new growth here, so it should be okay. And that's unlikely, highly unlikely. If it's in the plant, it's in the plant. Anyway, so there's a few leaves to trim, and light as a feather, so and it's probably, although it's got obviously loads and loads of roots, the whole top of the plant pot is absolutely covered in roots. It's not a deep pot. Now I think it might have been a better idea to have potted it up into a deep pot to allow more depth for these roots to get into. But anyway, we have signs of things coming out from the ground, and we have one definite spike in progress. So that can go into my notes as in bud. How many spikes we're going to get, I don't know. It could end up being quite a good blooming, but at the moment we've got one obvious spike progressing and some coming out at ground level that could be. But at that stage, I don't even want to... Well, I won't guess. I'll wait. You know, once they get 2 or 3 inches long, it's blatantly obvious whether it's a new growth or a spike. If it's a spike, it's hollow at the top. And if you press it, it's hollow. It's obvious. And if it's solid as a rock, then it's a growth. God, look at the state of this one. They are rubbing off easy, though. I'm reasonably certain that the systemic has in the main done its job, but I don't want to risk not giving them another spray, even if I have to buy some more. We shall see. So there we go. This one is doing okay. It hasn't got a lot of new growths, but it has got some. So doesn't seem to have grown as well as some of the others, but it's okay. You know, it's not failing. To say there are new growths on here. It's just not, you know, there's one up here in the middle of the plant. So there are some. You know, there's one here pushing up in the middle of the plant again, covered in scale. Oh dear. And then that is a new growth, definitely pointy and firm. So there are some new growths. But for the size of the plant, I'd have expected more. But some of those bumps coming out at ground level might still be new growths. Who knows? Anyway, it's a very big plant. It has very attractive blooms, and I'd say it's doing okay, but it's not doing as well as some of the others. On to some of the smaller stuff now. And some medium. This is my miniature, genuine miniature. This is Showgirl. This missed its blooming last year, so this one missed a year. It was a very small division when I got it in bloom, and it bloomed the following year, but then last year it missed one. Or this year. Depends which part of the year it blooms in. But we've got a nice strong new growth here. Pushing on, swelling up. The bulb behind it, which was last year's growth, is nice and firm and quite large if you look at the rest of the bulbs. So last year's growth was nice and big, and yet we didn't get a bloom. And then we had a much smaller new growth over this side of the plant. So I'm hoping this will bloom again this year. The blooms are very attractive. They're one of those types of blooms you would pass it by unless it caught your eye, in which case it would warrant closer inspection, and it's very attractive when you get in close and have a good look. So yeah, it's doing okay. As I say, it was a small division when I got it. It's a miniature, and the latest growth is pushing on okay. Hopefully we will get a spike this time round. Right, we're on to the sort of medium to small size, I would call this. This is Ice Flow, one of the ones I got from the Mathers Foundation. It consisted of a leafless back bulb and 2 bulbs and a bloom spike. That's what I bought. Since then we've got a nice new growth pushing on. It was potted on rather than repotted, so I didn't disturb the roots much, and hopefully this latest growth will mature into a nice big bulb like this one, if not bigger, and hopefully we'll get a spike. But given the size of the plant, it may miss a year. Technically speaking, you shouldn't let a plant bloom unless it's got at least 3 bulbs, preferably 4. But this was allowed to bloom with 2 bulbs and a leafless back bulb. That might have taken a bit of the strength out of the plant, and it might put all the rest of its energy into maturing this new growth and not bloom this time round. We shall see. But anyway, the new growth's pushing on nicely. Now this is the one where we had the emergency repot and all the rotting roots and lots of yellowing leaves. Well, since then it hasn't lost any more leaves. This one was starting to yellow anyway. This will become a leafless back bulb. I've made my mind up. And this one hopefully will retain the leaves it's got, even though they have paled slightly, but not enough, I believe, to drop. The new growth, however, has good roots underneath it and is pushing on okay. So yeah, a plant in that sort of state needs to be made to hunt for moisture and food. So it's going to get a little bit of water. All of the old soggy media was taken off, all of the rotten roots were taken off, so it's now got a bark based media. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's had 1 watering since it was played with. I think I'll give it a trickle round the edges. As I said, I want to make the roots hunt and branch and search, which it won't do if it's soaking wet. So anyway, I think it's rescued. I don't think it's going to be lost. And that's the white hybrid that again came from Mathers. These were very small divisions when I got them. Very small. I mean, this was just 2 bulbs. No, actually it was bigger than that. We took one off in part of the emergency. A bulb got taken off and the new growth associated with it had rotted at the base. Now I remember. Flashback. Okay, I think it's rescued. I think it will be okay. Right, this is Cymbidium copper. It looks a bit tatty, but basically it's a couple of leaves dying back on an old bulb that's probably heading towards leafless. However, that is a new growth. We shouldn't be getting yellowing leaves on a new growth. Just going to say this bulb looks rotten, but it's solid as a rock, so it's not. Another new growth here, and something else coming up besides it, which could be yet another new growth. Not forming a regular pattern, this one. Difficult to say what it's up to. I'm reluctant to take it out the pot. It's not heavy, so it's not like it's soaking wet, but it's not growing as well as some of my others anyway. I shall keep my eye on this growth. Hopefully it's just some yellowing at the base and nothing serious. The top leaves are pushing on, it's still growing. It's got new leaves still coming out here. So it's not finished growing by any means. As I say, we've got one here and something starting here. That does actually feel a bit hollow, so that could be a bloom spike. If it is, it'll be the only one, I suspect. So anyway, not doing as well as some of the others. I will trim these dead leaves off now and at least tidy it up a bit. And as I said, it's not heavy, so it's not soaking wet. It's not like it's soggy and the roots are rotting or anything. So maybe it's just an aging process. As I say, you still have to bear in mind, I haven't been growing Cymbidiums that long. I mean, I think my first ones were in 23. And just a couple, you know. Might have been at the end of 22, but I haven't been growing them that long. And there was quite an influx last year and towards the end of the previous year. And obviously I haven't had those long. So it is still, you could say, relatively new to me. But so it's difficult to establish patterns through experience yet. So but I'll get there. Obviously, as the years go on, I'll see things happen, and then when they repeat, I'll remember what it was about and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, some new growths and something coming out of the ground, which feels very much like a spike to me. And this is the last of what I call the Mathers 3, because they were all bought at Wisley this year in bloom. This one's got a French name, Parnasse, or Parnasse, however you want to say it. So the chances are, the origins of this is the Eric Young Foundation. They have a lot of relationship between the two. When the Mathers was initially set up, a lot of plants came from the Eric Young Foundation, donated into the Mathers Foundation, basically. So, you know, it gave them a good start, apart from other things that perhaps they already had. So again, yet another smallish division. You can see this one's grown on, yeah, very small back bulb, getting bigger, up to a full-size one, and bloomed. And now we have another nice strong new growth pushing out. So it's doing okay. It's relatively light, so we haven't got a problem in the pot, and hopefully it will bloom on this latest growth. With these three from Mathers, they were very, very small divisions in bloom, so they may have lost some of their inner strength, and they're putting all their energy into some new roots and new growths, and might not have enough left to bloom, so they might miss a year. But we will find out. You have to bear in mind with the breeding program at Mathers, they do get some very vigorous plants at relatively small sizes. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's doing okay. The new growth's nice and strong. As I said, it's got 3 leaved bulbs behind it, so this is the best of that little set of 3. So doing okay. And last but not least, basically because it's highly likely this one's virused, and if I finally decide that it is, I will throw it. The other one with the virus is Hannah's. It has sentimental value to her, so I will keep it separate and keep it going as long as I possibly can. This one doesn't have any sentiments, it's just a hybrid, it's a creamy colour, reasonable size blooms, but if it's virused it'll be better gone. The problem I've got with it is, it's a long story, but the story is I bought Cymbidium copper at the Mathers Foundation, but it wasn't one of the foundation's plants. It was out of David's private collection that he would have got from various places over the years. Yeah? It turned out to be 2 plants in the pot, and I found that out because copper was in bloom when I bought it, and the reason I bought it. There was another flower spike coming on, and when it bloomed it was a totally different colour, totally different plant. So obviously there were two different plants in the pot. This was the other one. Now it's a much stronger plant, much larger and everything, and it's grown on quite well. But you have to bear in mind, we've recently looked at copper and it's not doing that well. This one has very dubious markings on some of the leaves. And you can see the cells, you can see the individual cells on that leaf. And again here, and here, and here. So there's a lot of leaves that have very dubious markings. This is a new growth. Same again. Now, parts of the older plant, this new growth here is fine. It's got no marks on it at all. It's perfectly clean. So this new growth's okay. This new growth in the middle of the plant is okay. But round this side of the plant, things are not okay. This is an old growth with some very dodgy leaves. New growth here, dodgy leaves. New growth here, dodgy leaves. So I'm borderline just chucking this out now, quite honestly. And yet we've got a couple of new growths that are clean. Well, I've got room to keep it separate. We'll keep it going for a bit longer. Possibly to get another lot of flowers, just to see them for perhaps the last time. Basically, I can keep it separate. It's on the staging up one end, so none of the leaves are touching anything. It gets its own little space basically, and it gets watered last. And when I've watered it, I then go and sterilise all the equipment. So the bowls get boiling water swirled round them, wash up the watering mug and the little dish that I hold it in. So everything gets sterilised following watering this one. What a fuss! Yeah? But we'll keep it going for a bit longer. But this is cell damage. You can see the individual. Let me find a bad one. Sort of that one I think is probably the best. If you look, you can see the lines, and then if you look very carefully, you can see the lines across. Now, each one of those oblongs is a structural cell. And this is a sure sign of virus, and yet these markings don't look like the markings on Hannah's. That one's definitely virus. I've had that confirmed by an expert. I took it into the Wessex Orchid Society, left it in the car, came and had a look at it and said, that's virus, I'm not coming anywhere near that. So confirmed. So it's difficult to say with this one. Keep it for a bit longer. I'm not taking a risk with it, not technically. It's not touching anything, it's not in a place where anything else can get near it, and I water it last separately and then clean up afterwards. So it's apart, if you took away those markings on the leaves, it's not a bad plant, but obviously with those markings it's not. So well, that's the state of play anyway. We've got if you want to have a look at the new growths, we've got one here, one here, one here, one in the middle of the plant, big one, giant, and yeah, so it's not growing bad. There's nothing coming out of the ground at the moment, so there's nothing new, and it did bloom well. So that's it, that's the state of play with it. As I said, I'm in two minds whether to just dump it now, to save the hassle if nothing else. It's not exactly a brilliant, you know, a brilliant Cymbidium. It's run of the mill. It's okay. The blooms are quite large, but certainly not one of my best. And it wasn't one I bought. It hitched a ride in a pot with something that I really like. And by definition, if one of them's virused, the chances are the other one is as well. But it's not showing any signs whatsoever yet. We'll add that bit on the end. Right, that's it for today. Major update on the Cymbidiums. I don't know how long it'll be because each is an individual clip, so the camera doesn't tell me. But it will when I get it on the laptop. So there we go. And don't forget, if you want to see the members only videos, there's a recent one up there and a whole backlog sitting there, then you need to think about joining either the YouTube channel or join on the Patreon site, which is a more efficient way of joining because they don't take very much when the payments are made. So, but anyway, if not, then don't forget the old thumbs up. And something I haven't said for a while, I keep forgetting, if you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. It doesn't cost anything, despite the expression, but it does help the channel progress, along with the thumbs up and the comments. It's the activity on the channel that YouTube's looking for. So anyway, I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.